Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Before we jump in, just a quick reminder to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in description.
Yes, definitely do that. Lots of good stuff coming up.
Right. So today we are focusing on something that, well, if you've ever watched a rugby match, you've definitely seen it. Picture the bottom of a ruck, right? It's just this dense, chaotic mass of heavy forwards, muddy cleats, brutal physical pressure.
Oh, absolute chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And by the strict letter of the rugby law book, the scrum-half is absolutely forbidden from sticking their hands into that pile to extract the ball. But, I mean, they do it dozens of times every single match right in front of the referee, and the whistle stays totally silent.
It's one of the great open secrets of the sport, really.
It is. So today, we're exploring why the rule book sometimes acts more as, like, a philosophical guide than a literal stricture. We're unpacking a brand new law clarification from World Rugby, which was prompted by New Zealand Rugby. And we're keeping it positive today because, honestly, we're celebrating how these rule clarifications are designed to make the sport faster, more flowing, and just better for the fans watching. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, so New Zealand Rugby really, they kind of forced the issue here. They pointed a giant magnifying glass at this everyday reality of the modern game. They formally went to World Rugby with a very specific question.
Right, about scrum-half.
Exactly. They asked, are the actions of a scrum-half, moving beyond the back foot of the ruck and moving the ball with their hands, actually consistent with rec laws?
Which seems like a super simple question.
It does, but it strikes at the core of how the game functions. I mean, we see top-tier players doing this constantly. Look at the All Blacks' Cam Raygard or the Stormers' Imad Khan. Khan was actually noted doing this specifically against Cardiff recently.
Oh, right, yeah. They wait for the ruck to form, the bodies pile up, and then they just physically reach in, grab the ball, and sweep it backward to start the next phase.
Exactly. And the fans roar, the attacking line fires, and the referee just lets it roll. But New Zealand Rugby essentially paused the tape and asked how that squares with the literal text, because Law 15.4 is highly specific.
That's the offside one, right?
Yeah, it mandates that each team has an offside line running parallel to the try line, right through the hindmost point of any ruck participant.
So a rigid boundary at the back foot. You can't just casually bypass that without a penalty.
Right. But the real legal correction, the part that's impossible to ignore, comes from Law 15.11. The wording there leaves zero room for interpretation.
It's the no hands rule.
Period. It says once a ruck forms, no player may handle the ball unless they had their hands on it before it formed and managed to stay on their feet.
So if the ruck is formed, hands are outlawed. Done.
Officially, yes.
Which creates this massive glaring contradiction. If the law explicitly bans handling the ball, but we see it 50 times a match, the rule book just starts looking like a speed limit sign that everyone ignores.
That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, the sign says 55, traffic is doing 70, and the referee is basically a traffic cop on the shoulder, just watching everyone speed by, because, enforcing that 55 limit would completely ruin the commute for everyone.
What's fascinating here is how World Rugby manages that tension between the rigid text and the spirit of the game. Because national unions, they test these boundaries all the time.
Yeah, they really push.
Oh, constantly. For instance, look at Italy in 2025. They requested clarity on a highly specific incident involving South Africa. During a match, Manny Libbok took a kickoff, but purposefully didn't punt it the required 10 meters.
Right, and Andre Esterhuizen was offside, too, in front of the kicker.
Exactly. It was a calculated move. Italy recognized the cynicism and challenged it under Law 9.7a, which says you can't intentionally infringe any law.
Because South Africa was just trying to engineer a scrum.
Yes, leveraging a penalty to gain a tactical advantage. And World Rugby agreed with Italy there, penalizing the intentional disruption.
But the New Zealand Rugby question about the scrum-half is the complete opposite of that.
Precisely. The scrum-half isn't breaking Law 15.01 to manipulate a stoppage or slow things down. They're technically breaking it to ensure the game actually continues.
Right. Now, before we dive into how World Rugby responded to that, we really want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts and opinions on the current speed of the game in the comments. Is the action flowing well for you, or do you feel like it gets bogged down? And while you're down there, please remember to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in description.
Yes, definitely let us know what you think.
So how did World Rugby resolve this massive contradiction?
Well, they actually bypassed the isolated laws and pointed directly to the playing charter.
Charter.
Yeah, it's basically the constitutional bedrock of the laws of the game. And World Rugby highlighted this very deliberate mathematical balance written into it. The charter tries to balance two competing forces, continuity of play and continuity of possession.
Okay, so a balance between fighting for the ball and actually playing it.
Exactly. And to show how crucial this is, they noted that the word contest appears 9 times in the charter, while continuity appears 8 times.
Oh, wow, wait. 9-8.
9 to 8.
That is, I mean, that's a brilliant distillation of rugby, really. It's
Yeah.
mathematically engineered to be this near-perfect split between brutal physical struggle and free-flowing spectacle.
Exactly. You can't have a game that's just a grinding, wrestling match, but you also can't have endless recycling without any pressure.
Right. So how does that apply to the scrum-half?
Well, viewing it through that 9 to 8 lens completely changes things. World Rugby admitted that, yes, the Scrum-Half does technically contravene the pure wording of Law 15.11. They didn't hide from that.
They just owned up to it.
Yeah, but they stipulated that once the ruck is clearly defined and the physical contest for possession is over.
The contest part of the charter.
Exactly. Once that's done, the priority shifts entirely to continuity. So when the ball is secured, the halfback playing it away with their hands is the designated way to ensure that continuity happens.
So because the contest phase is over, we're instantly into the continuity phase.
Precisely. And because of that, World Rugby declared that no material offense has been committed.
Ah, a material offense.
Yeah, that's the linchpin of officiating. A technical rule break is only a material offense if it gives a team an unfair advantage or stops the other team from playing.
Right.
So reaching into a one ruck doesn't steal an advantage, it's just the administrative task of getting the ball out into the open field.
So what does this all mean? Like for the listener who's just trying to enjoy a Saturday match. Basically, World Rugby is officially telling referees to prioritize the flow of the game over the rigid bureaucracy of the rule book.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this clarification essentially rescues the viewing experience from disaster.
It really does. Because the alternative is just, it's slow.
Unbearably slow. Imagine if they strictly enforced Law 15.11. The scrum half couldn't use their hands, so they'd have to use their feet to try and rake this unpredictable oval ball backward out of the mud.
Dragging a Gilbert ball backward through a tunnel of cleats with just your feet? Oh, man.
With massive counter-rucking pressure. A hand can secure the ball cleanly and pass it in one motion. A foot just awkwardly kicks it around in a confined space.
It would be a nightmare. The ball would just get trapped constantly.
Constantly. And the moment it doesn't emerge, the referee has to blow the whistle and declare the ruck unplayable.
And an unplayable ruck means a scrum to the team moving forward, right?
Exactly. The sport would just disintegrate into endless set pieces. A dynamic run, a tackle, a ruck, the halfback fumbles with their feet, whistle, and boom, 3 minutes lost to packing down a scrum.
It would ruin the cardiovascular endurance aspect, ruin the entertainment value. World Rugby is actively protecting fans from a stop-start product here.
And this isn't an isolated thing. It lines up perfectly with the March 2024 tactical guidelines. You remember the use it command?
Oh, yeah. When referees were told to yell use it the second the ball is won at the ruck.
Right. That was a direct attack on the Caterpillar ruck. Teams were just binding extra players, making this massive human shield to buy time for a box kick.
Which totally suffocated the pace of the match.
Exactly. The use it command forced them to speed up. So when you combine that with letting the scrum half use their hands, World Rugby's unified vision is obvious. Finish the physical contest rapidly and get the ball to the back line instantly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. World Rugby isn't just treating this as a quick fix. They're actually monitoring this.
Yeah, they're gathering objective data right now.
Right. They asked match officials to closely monitor this specific area of the breakdown. They want real-world data on how the scrum half interacts with the ball for the upcoming shape of the game discussions.
Which signals a huge structural shift. They're basically admitting that relying on referees to interpret the spirit of a law that contradicts the written text isn't a long-term solution.
Yeah, they're heavily hinting at officially rewriting the ruck laws down the line.
To make the text match the modern reality.
Which is just the hallmark of a healthy sport. You know, they're observing reality, gathering data, and adjusting. So to recap all of this, rugby is evolving. When faced with a strict rule that would bog everything down in endless scrums, World Rugby chose common sense. They chose fast-paced entertainment. They allowed the scrum half to keep the play alive with their hands, and it's a massive victory for anyone who loves watching the game.
But this raises an important question for the future. As they gather this data for the shape of the game, What happens when that gap between the written law and the enforced law gets too wide?
Yeah, that's tricky.
I mean, for entrenched fans, this spirit of the law approach is great. It's thrilling. But does it create a barrier for new fans? If a newcomer reads the rule book, sees a strict ban on hens in the ruck, and then watches a match where it happens every phase, does it make the sport feel impossibly complex to learn?
Wow. That is a phenomenal philosophical dilemma. And honestly, that is exactly what we want you, the listener, to weigh in on. Does this unwritten spirit of the law confuse new fans? Or is the fast-paced action enough to hook them regardless of the literal rulebook? We want to read your analysis, so please leave your final comments and opinions on that down below. And before we go, this is your final reminder to subscribe to Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in description. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.